Everything you're doing there, I have to explain to a room full of men whose first and last question is how can this be used against us?
Kangaroo.
What is that?
In 1770, Captain James Cook's ship ran aground off the coast of Australia, and he led a party into the country, and they met the Aboriginal people. One of the sailors pointed at the animals that hop around and put their babies in their pouch, and he asked what they were, and the Aborigines said, kangaroo. It wasn't until later that they learned that kangaroo means I don't understand.
I can sell that for now.
Yeah.
And remember what happened to the Aborigines? A more advanced race nearly wiped them out.
It's a good story.
Thanks. It's not true, but it proves my point.
Quiet on the set!
This is Michael Faulkner, and it is showtime at the November 8th, 2016 edition of the Weekly Podioplex, brought to you on the Chronic Rift Network. This week's birthdays include Rebecca Romaine from The Librarians, Lou Ferrigno, The Incredible Hulk, Emma Stone, Gwen Stacy from The Amazing Spider-Man, Sally Field, television's Gidget, along with so many other roles, Ellen Pompeo, Meredith Grey from Grey's Anatomy, Callista Flockhart, Cat Grant from Supergirl, and Anne Hathaway, Catwoman from The Dark Knight Rises. Starting with the box office report, the newbies were top performers. At number 10 is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, down 3 from 7th. At number 9 is The Girl on the Train, down 3 from 6th. At 8th is Ouija, Origin of Evil, down 3 from 5th. In 7th is Jack Reacher, Never Go Back, down 4 from 3rd. And finishing out this week's bottom 5 is The Accountant, down 2 from 4th. The top 5 this week begin with Inferno, down 3 from 2nd with $6.2 million, added to a total of $26 million. In 4th place is last week's winner, Boo, a Madea Halloween, pulling in $7.7 million for a total of $65 million. In 3rd place is new release Hacksaw Ridge, debuting to $15.2 million. This war drama is the second highest opening for director Mel Gibson, behind 2004's The Passion of the Christ. Opening day audiences gave it an A cinema score, though crowds over the age of 50 scored it with an A+. Critics gave it an 87% approval rate. In 2nd is new release Trolls, earning $46.6 million. That's above the Peanuts movie, which premiered at this time last year. The mostly young female audiences gave it an A, and critics gave it 73%. Working some magic to top the charts is this week's winner, Doctor Strange, premiering at $85.1 million. That's right on target for expectations, and is the 10th largest opening for a Marvel movie. The closest competition is Thor: The Dark World, the only other November release from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it is second behind Guardians of the Galaxy for films that don't star any of the Avengers like Captain America, Iron Man, or Thor. If we look at the origin story or single-character intro films in the franchise, this is the second highest opener, with Captain America the First Avenger, Thor, Ant-Man, and the Incredible Hulk trailing well behind. Only Iron Man, the film that started what I'm calling the new golden standard for consistent franchises and comic book films, had a larger opening. Audiences gave it an A, and critics gave it 90%. I really enjoyed it as well, scoring it in the 8.75 to 9 range out of 10. Doctor Strange delivered abroad as well, pulling in $118.7 million from 53 territories. One of the top stories on that front is from China, where the $43.3 million opener makes Doctor Strange the third highest 3-day opening weekend in China for an MCU film, behind Avengers: Age of Ultron and Captain America: Civil War. Finally, the Doctor has made a mark on Walt Disney Studios, as this weekend's performance has pushed the Mouse House over the $6 billion mark worldwide for the first time ever. This is the second time in history that the $6 billion milestone was reached after Universal did it last year. The big question, will Disney reach $7 billion before the end of the year? That depends on Moana, which comes out later this month, and Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Let's close out the box office report with a look at what's winning in years gone by. 5 years ago in 2011, Immortals took number 1 with $32.2 million. 10 years ago in 2006, Borat, Cultural Learnings of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan won the weekend for a second week with $28.2 million. 20 years ago in 1996, Ransom was the winner with $34.2 million. 30 years ago in 1986, Crocodile Dundee took the title for a 7th week with $6.4 million. And 40 years ago in 1976, Carrie took the box office crown, which is kind of ominous if you've seen the flick, with $3.2 million. The box office premieres for the week of November 11th begin with this week's headliner, Arrival, a science fiction mystery thriller starring Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and Forrest Whitaker.
I have something I need you to translate for me.
Why are you here? Can you understand us? Where did you come from?
Now you heard it. What do you make of it?
Is that...
Yes.
A linguist is recruited by the military to assist in translating alien communications. Arrival is rated PG-13. The second title is Shut In, a thriller starring Naomi Watts, Charlie Heaton, and Jacob Tremblay.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Dr. Wilson.
How's Stephen doing?
Same as last week, and the week before. I lost him that day. I lost Richard in the car.
This is a heart-pounding thriller about a widowed child psychologist who lives in an isolated existence in rural New England. Caught in a deadly winter storm, she must find a way to rescue a young boy before he disappears forever. Shut In is rated PG-13. The third title is Almost Christmas, a comedic drama starring Kimberly Elise, Omar Epps, and Danny Glover.
You all should feel like a bunch of dumbasses.
No, Aunt May, I came here with
I
the
just don't understand
purest
how
of intentions.
two grown
straight up
women
delusional.
can be
Shut
so
up.
You're the
damn-
one being stupid.
Shut up! Your daddy too damn old for all this. Now, if y'all don't get your asses in that kitchen and apologize right now, I'm kicking everybody's ass in here. Come on.
Well, I just walked in.
Boy, listen here. Your little ass got on them red bozo shoes. That's why you gotta apologize. Get your asses in the kitchen. Y'all need to get yourselves together so you can go to church tomorrow. Look at this, boy. Look at this here. Push a bitch again. Push a bitch again. God damn it. Y'all gotta go to church tomorrow. You get there early. Lonnie, get your ass away from me. This don't make no sense. I'm just gonna blow my buzz.
We're not gonna make it to Christmas, are we?
Not a damn chance.
A dysfunctional family gathers together for their first Thanksgiving since their mom died. Almost Christmas is rated PG-13. There are also 3 titles on this week's limited slate, and you can find those in the show notes. Next up is a look at the home entertainment slate for the week of November 8th, and I'll begin with new release on DVD and Blu-ray, and that list begins with Sausage Party, an animated comedy starring Seth Rogen, James Franco, and Jonah Hill. Quite simply, it's one sausage's quest to discover the truth about his existence. Sausage Party is rated R. The second title is Indignation, a drama starring Sarah Gadon, Logan Lerman, and Tracy Letts. In 1951, Marcus, a working-class Jewish student from New Jersey, attends a small Ohio college where he struggles with anti-Semitism, sexual repression, and the ongoing Korean War. Indignation is rated R. Taking a look at new releases on digital video this week, we have 2 titles. The first is Kubo and the Two Strings, an animated adventure film starring Matthew McConaughey, Charlize Theron, and Rooney Mara. Kubo lives a quiet, normal life in a small, shoreside village until a spirit from the past turns his life upside down by reigniting an age-old vendetta. This causes all sorts of havoc as gods and monsters chase Kubo, who, in order to survive, must locate a magical suit of armor once worn by his late father, a legendary samurai warrior. Kubo and the Two Strings is rated PG. The second title is Mechanic Resurrection, an action thriller starring Jason Statham, Tommy Lee Jones, and Michelle Yeoh. The most dangerous hitman in the world, Arthur Bishop, thought he put his murderous past behind him when his most formidable foe kidnaps the love of his life. Now he is forced to travel the globe to complete 3 impossible assassinations and do what he does best: make them look like accidents. Hey, when you need someone's ass kicked, you call Jason Statham. Mechanic Resurrection is rated R. Moving right along to TV on DVD and Blu-ray, start things there with Daredevil, Season 1 from 2015, starring Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Deborah Ann Woll. Marvel's Daredevil follows Matt Murdock, attorney by day and vigilante by night. Blinded by an accident as a child, Murdock uses his heightened senses as Daredevil, fighting crime on the streets of New York after the sun goes down. His efforts are not welcomed by powerful businessman Wilson Fisk, also known as the Kingpin, and others whose interests collide with Daredevil's. Though Murdock's day job suggests a man who believes in the criminal justice system, his alter ego proves otherwise, as he takes the law into his own hands to protect his Hell's Kitchen neighborhood and the surrounding city. The second title is Black Sails, Season 3 from 2015, starring Toby Stephens, Hannah New, and Zach McGowan. Season 3 of Black Sails begins in the wake of the burning of Charlestown. All the New World lives in fear of Captain Flint. When his campaign of terror crosses over into madness and new threats emerge to challenge his supremacy, it falls to John Silver to locate the man within the monster before Flint's war against the world consumes them all. Meanwhile, on the pirate island of Nassau, it's a brand new day. With Eleanor Guthrie facing judgment in London, Jack Rackham sits atop a fortune in Spanish gold, hoping to secure his legacy as a king among thieves. To do so, he'll have to compete with the return of one of history's most notorious captains, who holds a different vision for their home, as well as a complicated past with Rackham's chief ally, Captain Charles Vane. All will be tested when a new opponent arrives to claim Nassau, one of the pirates could never have anticipated. It knows them, it understands them, and in the blink of an eye, it will do the one thing they never thought possible: turn them against each other. Number 3 on the TV slate is Red Dwarf, Series 11 from 2016, starring Chris Berry, Charles Craig, Danny John Jules, and Robert Llewellyn. The most inept band of space travelers ever to roam the interstellar highway, they return with an all-new season of misadventures. Red Dwarf 11 reunites the much-loved original cast of Chris Berry as the holographic Smeghead Rimmer, Craig Charles as the inept Lister, Danny John Jules as the fashionable human-feline hybrid Cat, and Robert Llewellyn as the cyborg Crichton. And the final TV title this week is Batman Beyond, the complete series, spanning 1999 to 2001 and starring Will Friedle, Kevin Conroy, and Lauren Tom. Rage and revenge for his father's murder first motivated Terry McGinnis to steal Bruce Wayne's high-tech bat suit. A greater purpose and sense of justice keep him wearing it. Across the 3 seasons and 52 episodes of this acclaimed series, he patrols the streets and skies of Gotham City with Bruce as his guide. Get in on the exciting and explosive partnership between an ex-crime fighter and his apprentice in the animated series that catapulted the Batman legend to new justice-seeking heights. I'll wrap up the home entertainment slate with Blu-rays from the past, and this week I bring you one title, that's The Goodbye Girl. A romantic comedy from 1977 starring Richard Dreyfuss, Marsha Mason, and Paul Benedict. A divorced woman and her daughter come home to find that her boyfriend has left for an out-of-town job with no warning. This has happened before. The second surprise comes in the form of another actor who has sublet the apartment from her boyfriend, who did not mention the pair of females who would be in residence. After some negotiation, the two decide to share the apartment, even though she has vowed to stay away from the actors. The Goodbye Girl is rated PG. After this brief break for about a shameless podcast cross-promotion, the Weekly Podioplex will continue.
Hi, I'm Nuke Chas, the host of Nutty Bites.
And hi, I'm Tech, Nutty's regular guest.
Or antagonist. Our podcast is like a call-in show where geeks get to debate topics about speculative fiction.
We don't really debate.
Sure we do. We debate topics such as lame superpowers, the best villains, and our favorite apocalypses.
We more like rant, rave, and then have massive nerd rages.
People call in from all over the world, sometimes minor celebrities, and we've even had some supervillains show up.
Do you ever notice that you never have any superheroes or good guys?
I'm a good guy.
Compared to what?
Antagonist. Not really a guest. Nutty Bites. nimlast.org.
And welcome back to the Weekly Podioplex. I'm Denise with your Quick Flicks. If you guys haven't seen the new Wonder Woman trailer, I highly recommend doing so. I'm no fan of Snyder's deconstruction of the superhero genre or DCU's current grimdark feel, but damned if this doesn't look like a good movie. I just have one plea. Please don't this up. We being women, have waited too damn long for a solo female-led superhero movie. Too long. I very much want this to be a good movie so we can have other female-led superhero movies, and I very much want Zack Snyder and his woman fetishizing self far, far away from it. In movie news, the Starship Troopers reboot landed new writers. Did you guys know there was a Starship Troopers reboot in the works? I didn't know there was a Starship Troopers reboot in the works. Why are they rebooting Starship Troopers? THR reports that the project has formally hired Baywatch movie writers Mark Swift and Damian Shannon to take on the script. Apparently, the film will not be a direct remake of Verhoeven's original. However, Columbia Pictures says they are going back to the film's original source material, the 1959 Robert Heinlein novel, and that none of the 97 film's original personnel are involved with the reboot. As with most, if not all reboots, the studio has their eye on potential franchise should the new effort be a hit. I'm not really sure how I feel about this. I saw Starship Troopers when I was in high school, and while not my favorite of movies, I definitely appreciated what it was going for, and participated in a fair few reenactments of the movies with my friends. And I mean, one of my friends was even nicknamed Dizzy after one of the movie's main female characters. But when the reboot comes out, I'll probably wind up seeing it, if only to see how it differs from the original. And probably I'll pick up the novel. Sadly, I've never read it. Shame on me, I know. If you've been on the internet for any length of time, you've probably seen an illustrated infographic of where Rogue One fits into the Star Wars universe. I myself have had to set a few very angry and disdainful people straight about the timeline. You remember the Bothans. people get really, really, really possessive about the Bothans. For those of you still convinced that Star Wars is now ignoring the Bothans, please note Rogue One, a Star Wars story, takes place during A New Hope. It is a story of how the rebels will get the plans to the first Death Star, so Luke can then use his Force abilities to blow the Death Star up. Many Bothans died to bring us information in Return of the Jedi. Now, part of the appeal of Star Wars is the text crawl in the opening sequence. It acts as both iconic Star Wars and a sort of catch-up for those who might have just come into the series, or the rest of us who have to wait ages for a new movie to come out and may need a refresher. It looks like Rogue One might be breaking with tradition. Star Wars Net is hearing from a source that Rogue One will open way different than the classic Star Wars films. Now, keep in mind, these are still rumors, but it wouldn't be surprising. Though this movie is inserted as canon in the greater Star Wars universe, it still has to differentiate itself, not only as its own standalone story, but as its own movie. It bears the name, it is a Star Wars story, but it's its own Star Wars story, if that makes sense. The text crawl is iconic, there's no doubt about that, and it is useful, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is required. What the opening scene actually is, we'll just have to wait and see. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, opens in theaters December 16th. 15 years ago, we got Reservoir Dogs, then Pulp Fiction. Since then, Quentin Tarantino has released 6 movies and made a name for himself as a director with a distinct storytelling style and a reliance on engaging dialogue, and this has fixed him firmly as one of the best directors Hollywood has ever seen. And now, he's retiring. After 2 more movies. At an Adobe Max conference at the San Diego Convention Center, where he discussed the end to his film career, THR was on hand to gather his responses. He said, "Hopefully the way I define success when I finish my career is that I'm considered one of the greatest filmmakers that ever lived, and going further, a great artist, not just a filmmaker. Though not a huge fan of Pulp Fiction, I couldn't make it halfway through. I do respect Tarantino as a filmmaker and have enjoyed a few of his movies. Hollywood will lose something special when he retires. Best of luck to the man. Here's hoping his final films are straight-up knockouts." And finally, in Marvel news, Colleen Wing has been confirmed for The Defenders. The Defenders' Twitter account posted a new video confirming the appearance of Iron Fist co-star Jessica Henwick as Colleen Wing. In addition to Colleen Wing, The Defenders will feature Luke Cage as Misty Knight, Daredevil's Karen Page, Foggy Nelson, and Stick, and Jessica Jones as Trish Walker, Malcolm Ducasse, and Jerry Hogarth. Additionally, Claire Temple will return for The Defenders, and of course Sigourney Weaver, who is playing a villain. We don't know who she's playing, but who cares? Sigourney Weaver is playing a freaking villain. Also in Marvel, Deadpool's Evangeline is getting a movie adaptation at Paramount. According to Deadline, Oscar-winning screenwriter Akiva Goldsman will produce and potentially direct the Evangeline solo movie. The movie has been described as a thriller and John Wick with a fallen angel. During his pitch to create the movie back in 2013, Robert Liefeld said the film would draw inspiration from Kate Beckinsale's Underworld franchise. Now see, I don't have a problem with this because the first Underworld movie was fantastic. There's something to be said when you have a really low-budget flick and people who know how to tell a story. And if you notice, the second and third Underworld movies were crap. And I have no hopes for the next Underworld movie because they have a budget, and just, I've noticed when movies get budgets, their storytelling ability just goes out the freaking window. So, hopefully, this movie will have a budget, and it will have a story, which would just be great, because Evangeline is an awesome character. Robert Liefeld explained why fans want Evangeline in her own film by saying, "Evangeline resonated so powerfully with the audience because her story of redemption is one that is so relatable. A fallen angel, sentenced to redeem herself by serving humanity, Earth is a foreign environment to her. She must adapt in order to save herself as well as mankind. Her dilemma provides humor amidst the larger plot engine driving her journey." So if we get this baby, we're going to see a script that is slightly self-referential and winks at the hero's ridiculous circumstances. Robert Liefeld sent out this tweet. "I met up with Akiva Goldsman, and he sold me with this one sentence. I want this to be female John Wick. I stood up, shook his hand, deal. Can I get a hell yes?" And that's it for this week's Quick Flicks. I'm Denise, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Denise. With that, we come to the end of this week's edition of the Weekly Podioplex. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition, please take a moment to get in touch. You can surf on over to the brand new homepage at chronicrift.com and leave an audio message right there in the website using your microphone, or you can write to weeklypodioplex@gmail.com. Of course, you can still tweet us on Twitter. The Chronic Rift is chronic_rift. The Weekly Podioplex is Weekly Podioplex. Denise is Riley James Keith, and I am Womprat99, like the creature Luke would bullseye in his T-16 in Beggar's Canyon. You can give the Chronic Rift a thumbs up on Stitcher Radio, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, and you can find the Weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Rift on Facebook and Google+. Take a moment, stop on by, and see what other shows the Chronic Rift Network has to offer. The main show is offered weekly with the Rift regulars, and you can listen live or download the episode later in the feed. We also have Cyborgs, a Bionic podcast, the Batcave podcast, the OSI Files podcast, the G2V podcast, Generations Geek, presenting the transcription feature, the Dan and Travis Show, the Sci-Fi Diner podcast, and so much more. Check us out and find the culture in pop culture. If you're interested in more of my adventures, take a quick trip to my blog, Creative Criticality, where I'm watching every episode of Doctor Who for the first time from the very beginning of the franchise and reviewing those stories in the Timestamps Project. Now, there won't be an entry this week in the Timestamps Project because of some technical issues on my end, but next week we begin the 15th season with the 4th Doctor, and the link to those reviews can be found in the show notes. You can also find Creative Criticality on Facebook. Denise can also be found on the internet at Accessories Not Included, where she talks about her writing, reviews books, and offers her services as a cover designer. Check her out at accessoriesnotincluded.com. If you decide to pick up any of this week's new releases, why not do it through our Amazon store? You get the newest entertainment at Amazon's low prices and high-quality service, and each purchase you make at that store supports the Chronic Rift Network. Your support keeps us on the air, and we appreciate your consideration. Look for the links to our best bets and the network store in our show notes, or click the Amazon box on the website. The Weekly Podioplex is a Lucky Shot production and is produced by John S. Drew. On behalf of Denise and John, this is Michael Faulkner. Thanks for listening. Until next time, there are adventures and drama, comedy and action, worlds to explore in the depths of film. Get some popcorn. Find your favorite seat, and I'll see you at the theater.